Hello and welcome to the World Retail Congress. My name is Paul Martin. I am the Managing Director at Planet Retail, and I would like to introduce Matt Clark, Director at Boxwood, which is a leading consultancy within the retail and consumer space, and Gudjon Reynisson, who is the CEO of Hamleys. Matt, Boxwood and Planet Retail have quite recently undertaken a significant piece of research analysing leadership and the key transformation and change within leaders over the recent years. What were the key findings of the research?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So as you say, we set out to produce something that really helped leaders understand how to keep their people's chins up and manage through these difficult times, and provide some inspiration for people to take home and apply in their own businesses. So we basically asked three questions. We asked, what's keeping you awake at night? What are the big business challenges? We asked, what strategies are you deploying in order to meet those challenges and meet your financial commitments? And we asked, what personal approaches are you taking as a leader to keep your people on the straight and narrow and help them to deliver in the current environment? And there were some really striking findings from the research. In the first question about keeping people, what's keeping people awake at night, I guess the things that really came home is firstly the enormous pressure that CEOs are under now, more so than ever before, not just to deliver their personal financial targets, but to help their teams who've been battered by years of recession step up and actually manage their way through the really, really difficult mogul fields, as it's been called, or how you do business these days. We also were really struck by the need for balance. So right now in lean businesses around the world, there's no time, but your core proposition is with volatile customers is taking so much effort to deliver that how do you find time not only to do that well, but also to innovate and grasp the opportunities that exist out there to go and lead in the market and beat and kill off the competition. So there are a couple of things from the sort of challenges that really came home. In the strategies, there was quite a lot of really good news actually, so some really good growth stories going on there, in particular about adapting to technology and using multi-channel and going online. But there was also some real concerns about how do you make money and how do you restructure the organisation to genuinely think in a multi-channel way. The other thing that really came through in terms of the strategies to be adopted is the different role of cost saving. So people are still doing cost saving, less than before, but most of the low-hanging fruit has been taken, so the cost savings that do still exist are very much at the boundaries between functions or between organisations in the value chain, and actually nowadays it's much more about agility, so fast beating slow rather than big beating small. So if I then move into the final topic area around personal approaches, I guess the thing that struck home is everyone talked about the clarity of the vision and getting people to be clear on what they need to deliver, but actually it went way beyond that. So in order to get discretionary time and effort from people these days, they not only have to understand the vision, but they need to feel it. They need to be connected to it emotionally, they need to understand it, they need to really, really want to do it, whether that's because they believe in your brands, your products, or your values as an organisation, or the community work you're doing, whatever it is, there has to be that emotional connection that takes you that one step beyond. And I guess the final thing that really came through for us in the research is this need for absolute focus. So we had a lot of people saying, look, there's so many opportunities out there, we could spend a lot of time rushing around like busy fools and we'll be doing nothing well. What we must do, and one of the hardest tasks of the CEO, is to say no, is to be really clear on what you must be doing and to communicate that consistently across the organisation and stop people getting distracted by all the other things that are going on out there. So they were the sort of big highlights, if you like. Much more in the white paper, but they're the top ones, I think.
Matt, thank you. Gudjon, you kindly participated in this piece of research. In your view, what makes a good leader? It's
a fascinating topic. There isn't a one stereotype good leader, and obviously the proof is in the pudding. The measure of a good leader is obviously the result of the business, but how do you get that result? I mean, there are words like honesty, like communication. I mean, experience has taught me to communicate more and more and more, say the same things over and over and over again, be absolutely clear about where we're going, keeping the troops focused, making sure that they don't get swept up in things that are really not important. I think that confidence, to really believe in yourself, is one of the big traits of a successful leader. And we all have doubts. We all have doubts at moments that we truly... Somebody said to me once, there is this big fear that you'll be found out one day. Yeah. And you have to come across to your team as a confident, honest, genuine individual that knows what he's talking about, and clear vision. You have to be able to communicate in such a way that they want to follow you. It's not that you order them to because they lose their job if they don't. They have to want to follow you. I read somewhere, good sentence, they will never remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Excellent, thank you. Matt just mentioned one of the key words around agility. It's not about not doing things or decisions or doing things, it's about how fast you can actually do and execute certain topics. That also requires really staying absolutely on top of the key trends. In a very busy life of a leader, how do you keep abreast with some of the key trends in retail, especially in this rapidly changing time?
I mean, the honest answer to this is that you don't. You have this constant feeling that you're not on top of things that are coming your way. You have to allocate time to this. We're experiencing now faster and more profound change in our environment than we have ever seen in our adult life in business. Things are changing not in next year and the year after that. They're changing now, and you need to be on top of it. You'll become obsolete if you don't. So it's extremely important. Obviously, you're not alone in that. You have team members who work with you on this, but you need to personally allocate time to staying on top of what's happening around you. You need to participate. You need to, if you're not on Twitter or Facebook now, get on it today.
I would just to add to that, I think one of the real themes, absolutely building on what Gudjon said, is this need to both listen to your customers, to your people, to what the external market is doing, but also just be present. And there's a lot of difficult decisions being made in businesses at the moment. And in order to really get people to come with you when they make those decisions are made, being there and connected to them, listening and making them part of the solution, whether it's through launching issues on them through breakfast briefings or interaction online or whatever it may be. It's amazing the response you get when you genuinely engage your people and your customers in helping you resolve the issues. They will help you if you ask them in the right way. Extraordinarily powerful.
I agree. Coming back to the topic you just touched upon, focusing on the absolute key, core, most important aspects. How important is it that you're able to make mistakes?
It's what you need to do as a leader. One of the most important roles of a CEO in any business is to create a culture. You are the one who creates the culture. You lead the way. You have to create a culture where you're allowed to make mistakes. You have to create a culture where you are allowed to be brave. You have to create a culture where you're allowed to come up with ideas that might sound strange. You cannot create a culture of fear of mistakes. And it's one of the worst things you can do. If there is a big mistake, you take the blame personally. Deal with it. Don't make sure that your people are not afraid of making mistakes. It's one of the most important things of all, and it creates this environment of the word I'm looking for is the environment where things are made. The
empowerment.
Yeah. And it's also such a brilliant way of developing the future leaders of your business, giving them the opportunity to lead bigger projects than you necessarily are 100% sure that they can handle.
Yes.
Allow them to trust them.
Well, one of the phrases that we often hear and use, and indeed Gudjon is certainly one of these, is this description of a leader who cares and dares. And it's this great combination of someone who is passionate about their brand, their customers, their people, the products, what they're doing, but also dares to go out there and do things differently, push the boundaries, challenge the old way of doing things, and allows their people to get out there and do things that are going to deliver the future success. And if it doesn't work out, fail fast, fail safe, and get on with the next one. And that kind of combination of the caring and the daring is an extraordinarily powerful thing.
There's absolutely no way of getting your people to behave in a certain way if you don't do it yourself. There's just no way.
I would agree. One of the key quotes in the research paper was there's no easy ride. There's no blue runs anymore. If you take skiing as an example, there's only black runs. Is that going to change, or is it actually going to be the black run plus going forward? What's your view, Gudjon?
It's about understanding the customer, doing for him what he wants, focus on being excellent and excel in an area that is narrow enough for you to be able to focus on it. Spend less money than you earn and you're fine.
That's a very good point. Matt, after looking at this piece of research, has your perception changed pre to post research?
I think there were a few surprises in the research for me. One was, I think I mentioned it, is that I was surprised that only half of the companies that we interviewed, the CEOs we interviewed, were really focused on cost reduction, and that there was a much greater focus on growth strategies. So I think that's a fantastically positive message, in that over 3/4 of the people are doing positive growth strategies. Half of the people are looking at cost reduction or value engineering the value chain. So I think there's some great messages coming from that. But the thing that really came home to me was where leaders are focusing. So they're not focusing on the big issues they can't influence. They're not focusing on the economy, although there was a lot of talk about the economy and the effect on the business. But what they are focusing on, the things they can influence, and in particular, their senior team. And the piece that did just strike me is that in terms of the list that's on a leader's pad at the moment, that issue was at the top.
Coming to a conclusion, we all know the role of a leader is very stressful, is very hectic, but in the times of work-life balance, flexible working, how do you personally manage to keep your own sanity and also ensure that even though your role as a leader is one of the most important roles in your life, but there's also something else in your life?
It's such a good question. This is such an important part of a successful leader, and just not burning up. Because what makes you good at what you do is that you think about things 24/7. You're really dedicated. You absolutely love what you're doing. So what is the danger of that? That is that you never stop. So you have to be aware of the need to be able to relax and to unwind. And obviously the family is the place to go. And for me, seriously, being able to step out of the leader role and being in charge in my house where my wife takes over is the way for me to turn off.
Yes.
And playing with my children and bringing the latest toy to my 11-year-old son and playing with him.
Excellent. Have you got anything to contribute to that?
I think that's absolutely spot on, and I guess the one thing that really struck from the research is that life isn't getting any easier or less lonely for those at the top, but those that are succeeding, as Gudjon has done, have really thought through how they decompress from the daily grind, who they can talk to, where they get their support from, and aren't afraid to go out and ask for help when they need it. And I think these days it cannot be a one-man game or a woman game, it has to be a team game, and that's all about the support network you put in place around it.
Excellent. Gudjon, Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Paul.